Welcome to the Andy Ruther Show. Here is your host, Andy Ruther.
Welcome to the Andy Ruther Show. That's me. I'm your host, Andy Ruther. We're doing this, episode number 3. We made it. We made it to 2. Now we're making it to 3. And I'm feeling good on this Thursday evening. It's about 11 o'clock. The kiddo is in bed. Camera has been shut off. I'll let mama deal with that, but shouldn't be any issues. Shouldn't be any issues because that girl had a lot of energy and she fell right to sleep. No screens today after daycare. That was the goal and it was achieved. It's a mini win and I'm proud of myself for it. The girl loves Coco Melon and she loves Miss Rachel. But she's been getting too much of it. So I was like, nope, none of that. Mom's getting her nails did after work. Probably going to stop at some places because that's what mom does. It's impossible. It's impossible, I think, for women to just do one thing. Right? That's the difference between men and women. If I say I'm going to get my hair cut, I'm going to get my hair cut. If a woman says she's going to go get her nails done, she's stopping at Target, stopping at TJ Maxx, maybe hitting up Michael's, Home Goods. That's what women do, man. It's just you gotta just hit up all the spots. Whereas dudes, I'm just getting a haircut, going home. So I had Isla for the norm, not the norm. Normally is what I should say is mom comes home, I'm feeding her. We go on a walk. Girl loves her wagon walks. Brittany does the bath. Brittany's so much better at the bath than me. The bath, the lotions, all the stuff that I'm terrible at. And then I give her a bottle, which she needs to stop doing, but she struggles to drink milk during the day. So I give her the milk before bed. I rock her for a bit and then she's out. But tonight, I did it all. I was a champion. She got the bath and the bottle and the diaper, the whole 9 yards. Anyway, she is asleep and I'm ready to rock tonight, guys. Ready to talk about some things. Let some things out, reminisce, the huge. I do have some updates though. I have some updates from the hood. I know you guys want some neighborhood updates. I got a gay Greg one. I got drama with the car that was parked on the street for so long and someone called the cops. The cops showed up. The car's still there. I want to get to that first. So the person who we thought called the cops did not call the cops. Yeah, that's right. Everybody thought it was my neighbor. They thought she went full Karen. No, she did not. She didn't go full Karen. And I didn't think it was her because I knew she had approached them directly. She did not call the cops. It was a dude up the street, which is even funnier to me. It's not even in his way. But the story gets even weirder. He called the cops on them for their car being there forever. He was trying to get it towed, I guess. This is what he told Brittany. For retribution for his brother's car getting towed. I'm not making this up. This is 100% true. He told Brittany his brother's car got towed. So somebody had called the cops about that. So I guess he's just taking it out on other cars in the street. I don't really fully understand it. But that's the story. His brother's car got towed, and I guess his brother had unpaid parking tickets. So when the cops were called, they run the plates, all these unpaid parking tickets. They send a tow truck out. The tow truck tows it. He's mad. He takes it out on homeboy's mother-in-law's car that's been sitting there for about 2 years. It's unbelievable. And you know who I told? I had to tell Gay Greg. I had to tell Gay Greg because Gay Greg's gonna tell everybody, right? Again, I'd be great on a reality TV show like a Big Brother, right? Isn't that kinda you kinda weave, you play a little puppeteer? Isn't it kinda like that on that show? I don't know. I've never watched Big Brother, but I've been told I'd be good at it. I've never watched a single episode. I really don't understand it, to be honest. So I told Gay Greg. I had to tell Gay Greg. Gay Greg is like the Perez Hilton of our neighborhood. He's the gossip dude. He's the TMZ. He tells everybody. He spreads rumors. He does his thing. And I'll tell you what, he said something which was the most Gay Greg thing ever this week. So Sunday, I believe. Yeah, Sunday. I just get back. I'm with Isla, and we're getting out of the car, and he's walking his dog. And I say hi to him, and I walk out there, and he's always saying, "Oh, Isla's so cute, this and that. She's so adorable." I'm like, "Yeah, Greg, I know. She looks like me. Of course she's adorable." No, but all jokes aside, we talk for a minute, and I bring up my house, and we're gonna get a new deck, and I ask him, "Hey, did you know anybody who lived previously in my house? Not the people we bought it from, but the people before that, because there was never a permit for our deck, which you're supposed to have, and it's a whole thing, which I'll tell you another story about here in a minute. But anyway, so I tell gay Greg, I'm like, "Hey man, yeah, like there was never a permit, so now we have to file all the official paperwork with the city of Cincinnati. It's going to push back when we can get our new deck built, blah, 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 blah." And he's talking to me about 2 owners ago. And he's like, "Yeah, 2 owners ago, it was a doctor. She was single. She lived by herself. She was a large woman," as he said. He's like, "She was fat. She was a fat, large woman. And then she found somebody," as he says. And then he says, right in front of Isla, I know she's a baby, and we'll say things we shouldn't say in front of her. She's 16 months old, but still, it makes it funnier because it's coming from Gay Greg. I'm holding Isla, and he just goes, "And then she met somebody, and then she just left. She finally got some dick, and then she just became a dick chaser. She chased that dick out of town." And I'm just like, "What?" And he's laughing, and he's walking away, and he's like, "She was a dick chaser." I'm just like, "Wait, what? What is up with you, man? You are literally a TV show character." It's nonstop entertainment. So we are getting a new deck, or we're trying to get a new deck. And I live in an HOA. So the homeowners association has to approve anything with the house, which sucks. But I submit the application and they approve it, right? We're just gonna knock down the old deck because it's literally decrepit. It's in shambles. And we kind of knew that when we bought the house, but we didn't know to the degree. So that's going to be knocked down. The deck's going to be expanded, and they're actually going to put a small roof over the deck because there's no shade. So anyway, all these blueprints, all that stuff, it's got to be approved by the HOA. So the HOA approves it. And today, right before I was about to record Dirty Sports with Joe Prano, somebody calls me. I'm literally in front of my computer about to hit record. Somebody calls me, and it's a 310 number, which is Santa Monica, California. So my old hood, right? Right down the street. It's greater LA. So I answer, And I say, "Can I ask who's calling?" And he says his name, and he says he's with the HOA calling about the application for my deck, which again had already been approved last week. So I instantly think somebody's trolling me, right? Because I've trolled so many people my whole life. I think I'm always going to get trolled. So when he says that, I'm like, okay, who did I tell that I was getting a deck? And then I start thinking, was I talking about this on the Andy Ruther show? Was I talking about this on Dirty Sports? Does somebody have my number? Is it another comedian messing with me? Most people wouldn't go there, but my mind went there. Podcast listeners have gotten my number before, which whatever, and they've messed with me. So I'm going there in my head mentally. Somebody's messing with me, right? And he says he's so and so with the HOA. And the minute he says about the deck, I'm like, okay, I'm getting trolled because it's already been approved. So he says, can I come down and just take a look where you guys are going to build? And at this point, I 100% think he's trolling. The number says Santa Monica, California. It's 2,000 miles away. So I'm playing along, messing with him. And I say, it's going to take you a while to get here from Santa Monica. And he says, no, I'm right up the street. I'll just ride my bike down. It's close. And then again, in my head, I think he's just messing with me back because he even says, I can ride my bike real fast if you need to make this quick. So again, I think he's messing with me back. And I start laughing, legit laughing. And I said, you're pretty good, man. You're not breaking character at all. And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, this is pretty funny, man. I was like, who put you up to this? And he's like, what are you talking about? And I say to him, you're on the HOA board? Who's the HOA president? And he knew it. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, that's probably public information. You can just go to the website where we live, Reserve of Turpin, and you can see who's the HOA president. And he says the HOA's president's name. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's surprising. And he's like, can I come look at the deck? And I say, Charlie already approved it. And he's like, she did? Which then I was like, okay, this is kind of weird because he knew that Charlie was a woman. So now I'm kind of confused, but I'm also thinking, man, this troll really knows, or somebody's doing something to me. And I say again, wow, you're really good. You're not breaking character, because he was insistent on it. And then I say to him, hey, man, this is all fun and games. Me and Prano got to record Dirty Sports. And he doesn't say anything to that. I was like, I appreciate this. You gave me a good laugh today, because he did. I legit was laughing. And I kept saying, you're really good. You're not breaking character. Thanks for the laugh. And he was like, okay. And I said, I really, really, really appreciate this trolling. A good troll job is good, is appreciated for me. And I hang up and I do Dirty Sports today. So I bring this up to Prano before we do Dirty Sports. And he's like, I don't know who would do that. Who have you told about the deck? And I said, I don't know. Maybe I just told somebody, and there's a comedian buddy who grabbed another buddy and they're messing with me. Again, I know this doesn't seem like it makes sense, but my mind always goes to, I'm being punked. I'm being trolled. The show ends and I put this person's phone number into Google. And the first thing that shows up is the same name that he gave me on the phone, someone who lives a street away from me. And I was like, oh shit, this really was a real person who is on the HOA board. They must think I'm a complete lunatic, and they probably have no clue what I'm talking about. So now I'm like, okay, I'm in damage control. I'm going to text him. And I text him this. This is Andy Ruther. I thought I was being trolled by your call earlier. Sorry about that. I saw the Santa Monica number and didn't think it was real. I lived in LA for 13 years, so I was very confused. Long story I can explain better over the phone. And then I call him and he doesn't pick up. So I'm like, okay, this is making me look like a total serial killer. So I'm walking Isla tonight because that's kind of our thing. Again, we do wagon walks at night. And we hit the playground, and then I'm walking her around the neighborhood before bath and bed, and I see the dude. Now, he's never met me, mind you. But again, just putting in his phone number, I know exactly where he lives. I know what he does. I know everything. It's crazy what you can figure out when you have somebody's phone number. So he's working in his yard, and I wave to him, and I'm like, hey, so and so, I'm Andy Ruther. And he kind of looks at me for a second. I go, the guy you talked to earlier. And he walked over and he's like, hey, man, what's going on? And I said, the phone call we had about 2 hours ago probably made no sense to you. And he was like, yeah, well, I didn't understand it at all. And now I'm trying to figure out how to explain this to him. I go, yeah, man, I got this podcast, Dirty Sports, and sometimes people troll, and we have a hotline number, and there's been at least one occasion where I accidentally plugged my own phone number when I had a brain fart and not the hotline number, and then people have my number, and I thought I was being messed with, and he's clearly just looking at me like I'm a lunatic. And I was like, "Yeah, so that's me. I live, just down the street on the other street, and sorry about all that." And he's a really nice guy, right? He's doing yard work. And he walked away, and I'm just thinking, this guy thinks I'm a serial killer. I was acting like he was trolling me. Here he is, just a dude in my neighborhood, all because the Santa Monica phone number showed up. So I am an idiot. What you can do though? What you can do? My mind always goes there, like I'm going to get trolled. I don't know. I did a little trolling this week myself, so maybe that's why. Did a little trolling with a car dealership. We were shopping for a car. Brittany needed a new car, which is there anything worse than shopping for a new car? Like that's got to be up there with one of the most annoying. Just you don't want to do it, right? Like does anybody really want to shop for a new car? I don't because you're gonna have to negotiate. You're gonna have to do the back and forth. They're gonna be the slimy schmoozy car dealers. You guys know how it is. But he's gotta be done. Her car basically died. So I was shopping for a car, and then we went a few times together, but it was mostly me on Friday, Saturday, Sunday last week. And it's always funny to me, the dudes who come out the gate with the most insanely high number, just insanely high number. I know cars are the most expensive that they've ever been, but dudes who just come out with a crazy high number. And then after about 10 minutes of negotiating, you've already just knocked it way down. It's like how many people bought this high number that you threw out? But anyway, there was this one dealership, this Kia dealership. The dude was just dunking on every other car dealership and every other car brand. And the other guys never really did that in this experience that I just had. Most of them will be like, "Oh yeah, Toyota's a good car," or "Nissan's a good car," or whatever. They didn't diss the other brands. This dude was like, "Oh man, everyone says Toyota. They fucking suck, dude. Honda. Oh man, they can't even touch Kia. Oh my god, Tesla, never even heard of them." So he's just dissing every brand, right? By the way, we did not look at Teslas out of my price range. But we we settled on a car, we signed the lease Memorial Day, and this dude wouldn't stop emailing me, right? Like when is the Me Too movement going to hit car dealers? No means no. These guys are ruthless. It's just not, they don't even listen. So he sends me an email on Tuesday. Hi, Andrew. I haven't heard back from you. Are you interested in putting a deal together with me on a Kia Sportage? Because that was one of the cars we were looking at. I should say I was looking at. She wanted no part of it. So I respond to him about an hour later. And I give him a courtesy of an hour later with an apology. Hey, apologies for the delayed response. We went a different route with the Nissan Rogue. Thanks for your time and efforts. Right? It's over. I wrap it up. We went with the Nissan, which is what we were looking at as well. Thanks for your time and efforts. I'm straight told him we went with the Nissan. Like, we signed a lease, dude. He responds, don't settle for a Nissan. How can I earn your business on a Kia? Bro, you are not getting it. We already signed the lease. Again, no means no. Don't settle for a Nissan. How can I earn your business on a Kia? So I'm annoyed, right? I see this. I'm actually at Trader Joe's at the time, which is a nice, happy place for me. Love going to some Trader Joe's. And I'm like, bro, what's wrong with you? Elijah, that's his name. Elijah. What are you doing, Elijah? I already told you. I got a different car, man. I haven't talked to you since Friday. I've looked at a million different cars and dealerships since then. You done. You out. So I respond to him after he says, how can I earn your business on a Kia? I write back on, and these are all on email. You can build a Back to the Future type car that goes back in time and has us unsign our lease with Nissan, which we signed 2 days ago. I'd start there. And he just writes back, take care, man. Like, I don't think I'm being a dick. I don't. My one brother was like, you're being a dick. No, dude, he is. He's the guy being a dick. I already told you, we signed a lease with a different brand. It's done. You can't unsign the lease. I'm not trying to diss every car dealer. I'm not saying they're all bad people. I am curious how you get into that line of work, though. And I'm curious the strategy of when they offer rates to customers, right? Because it's fascinating to me. Like, it's fascinating to me that when I was at the Mazda dealership, the guy comes out the gate because we're leasing. We wanted to lease. He comes out the gate. We were looking at a Mazda CX-50, and he comes out the gate with $524 a month with zero money down. And 10 minutes later, it's already down to $440. Like, why did you come at me with the number 524? That's my first question. My second question is, how many people bite on that first offer? Like, are there that many people? They're just like, yeah, cool. I'll take it. Like, I'm knocking $80 off his initial offer within 10 minutes. I don't know. This probably isn't interesting. So who cares? But we got a car, whatever. I just care about something that drives point A to B. That's how I am. I drive a Toyota Corolla hatchback, as many of you know. Love it. So anybody who disses it, I don't care. My brothers, they call it the condom mobile, the tampon. Don't really care. It's a reliable car. Brittany makes fun of it. Everybody makes fun of it. Your little tiny little car. Yeah, whatever. It runs great. Isla doesn't complain. I take her to daycare every single day. Pick her up every single day with the little micro machine that they call. This is a big week, though. It's a big week for Star Wars nerds like myself. Because this week is the anniversary of the original Star Wars dropping. Yeah. That's right. May 25th, 1977. The original Star Wars dropped. And I'm going to talk about Star Wars. So if you've never seen Star Wars, you probably want to tune out the next, I don't know how many minutes, but I want to talk about Star Wars. Because Star Wars has been such a huge part of my life. I mean, look at the background here. I don't know if you can see that, but that's a picture. I don't even know if I call it a painting, whatever it is, of all the different Star Wars characters. And Star Wars has been huge for me ever since I was a little kid, ever since I saw it, right? It came out a little ahead of me. It came out in 77. I was born in 81. I started getting into it big time in 84. But man, that original one is pretty badass. A New Hope, which kicked it all off, is one of the greatest movies of all time. And I can nerd out on Star Wars. I always joke, I'm that rare breed that loves sports and Star Wars. Usually those two don't intersect, right? Because Star Wars people can be total dorks. And I can be a Star Wars dork and I can be a sports dork. Usually those two worlds don't overlap, but I love Star Wars. And I got some cool Star Wars stuff that I want to share and just talk about, like, my memories with Star Wars, which I think is the best trilogy of all time, personally. The original three: A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, episodes 4, 5, and 6. I think it's the best trilogy of any movie trilogy. And I know that's debatable and it's subjective, but I'll argue Star Wars. Some people will say Lord of the Rings. Some people might say Godfather, which Godfather 1, great. Godfather 2, even better. Godfather 3, come on. Like, what are we doing here, guys? I mean, really? Like, if you're going to compare the first 3 Godfathers with the first 3 Star Wars, I can maybe see the first 2, right? So Star Wars Episode 4 with the original Godfather, you could say those are on par. Godfather 2 is one of the best movies of all time. So is Empire Strikes Back. Both of them had a better film, the second film. So right there, they're kind of neck and neck. I don't have a problem with that argument. The Godfathers versus Star Wars. But Return of the Jedi, in my opinion, dunks all over Godfather 3. It just does. And I'm not saying Return of the Jedi is the best film, but I think it's way better in the scheme of things than The Godfather 3. Godfather 3 just got ridiculous, and Coppola put his daughter in it. Like, the Nepo stuff, it's not Star Wars. I'm just saying. The first 2 movies are amazing, especially The Godfather 2. But so is Empire Strikes Back is, I mean, are those 2 the best sequels of all time? There's a debate, or there's a question. Are The Godfather 2 and The Empire Strikes Back the best sequels of all time? And I'm sure I'm missing something. I'm not going to look anything up. This is off the top of my head. The Godfather Part 2 and The Empire Strikes Back, probably the best sequels of all time. 2 just great movies. 2 movies that if they're on in front of me, I could just sit down and watch, right? You can just hop right in. You don't miss a beat. They're just so well done. So the original Star Wars came out this week in 1977. 47 years ago, which is crazy. And I started looking for some of the original trailers. I've actually never watched the original Star Wars trailers. And the original one is pretty hilarious. Like, I'm just going to play it. Like, this is the original Star Wars trailer. It's nothing like I would have expected.
Somewhere in space, this may all be happening right now. 20th Century Fox and George Lucas, the man who brought you American Graffiti, now bring you an adventure unlike anything on your planet. Star Wars.
Here they come. Coming in too fast!
The story of a boy, a girl, and a universe. It's a big, sprawling space saga of rebellion and romance. It's a spectacle, light years ahead of its time.
I am C-3PO, human cyborg relations, and this is my counterpart, R2-D2.
Hello.
It's an epic of heroes.
Good luck.
By the way, this is a long trailer. This is 2 minutes.
And villains. And aliens from 1,000 worlds. Star Wars, 1 billion years in the making, and it's coming to your galaxy this summer.
You know what's so cool about that trailer is that there's very little talking. It's just they're showing scenes and quick clips from the entire movie. And if I'm watching that, like if you watch that trailer, you're like, what the hell is this? Think about it. Go back to time. Go back to, hold on. That's something in my nasal cavity. Anyway, hold up. As I drink from my Stormtrooper glass to honor Star Wars. But like if you're in 1976 and this trailer comes out, you're like, what is this? Like you don't know who Darth Vader is. You don't know who the Sand People are. You don't know what a Stormtrooper is. Like, what is this? I mean, it looks pretty cool. It's a different approach. Now, here's another trailer, which this was labeled one of the first ones as well. This one actually gives names, and this is only a minute. This is more of your traditional movie trailer.
Luke Skywalker was just a farm boy until he received a mysterious message from a princess.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
She's beautiful.
Star Wars, starring Mark Hamill,
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
Harrison Ford,
Boring conversation anyway.
Luke, we're gonna get company!
I think we took a wrong turn.
Carrie Fisher,
Good luck.
Alec Guinness,
You can't win, Darth. If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
20th Century Fox presents the most extraordinary motion picture of all time, Star Wars.
Here's where the fun begins.
No legendary adventure of the past could be as exciting as this romance of the future.
Here they come.
May the Force be with you in Star Wars.
So that's more of like your traditional trailer. I like, by the way, they lead the starring Mark Hamill. I find that very interesting. Mark Hamill gets the creds ahead of Harrison Ford. I guess both were up-and-coming actors, and we all know where that went. By the way, speaking of Harrison Ford, some might argue the Indiana Jones trilogy, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, and The Last Crusade, which, by the way, 3 great movies. I wouldn't put him on Star Wars level though. I love Harrison Ford. I'm a big fan of his. And those are great movies. I just wouldn't put him there. They're like the Star Wars movies. I'm trying to think of an analogy, like a sports one. The Star Wars movies are like Patrick Mahomes. The Raiders of the Lost Ark and the Temple of Doom and the Last Crusade. They're like, I don't know, Peyton Manning. I mean, they're great. They're not the best of all time. You're not watching this like, whoa. I mean, that's just my opinion. I mean, people might have different opinions, which again, it's fine. That's my opinion. But Star Wars for me was just such a huge part of my life, especially as a kid. It was such a huge part of my life. Like I became obsessed. And I'm 42 now, going on 43. So I even forget the obsession. But shout out to my mother and father for keeping certain things to reiterate how obsessed. And I got to read this to you. This is from this is a baby book my mom had. All right. It's called Our Baby's First 7 Years. The truth is my mom didn't do a good job in keeping track too well, which is fine. She had 5 kids. I'm not expecting that. So she skipped around a lot. There's not too many entries in here, but she does have this one from it's spring of 1985. So I'm 3.5. And this is what she writes about me. Andy developed a love for the Star Wars movie due to our tape of it, which is so funny also to think, right? My parents had it on tape, taped from TV. He watched it every day for weeks. Everyone else got so sick of it. This continued from spring 1985 through the fall. For Halloween, Walt made a papier-mâché mask so that he could be a stormtrooper. I told Andy I couldn't find any stormtrooper costumes, and he said, "Don't worry, Mom, Gold Circle will have one." That was an old department store. I don't know what you would call it, like kind of like a Kmart. You guys, Kmart's now I'm really dating myself. It's like an old Target. So the mask was great. In June, he found a stick that he thought was a stormtrooper gun, and he carried this with him all the time, putting it in a bucket by his bed at night. This gun was a big deal. When some older boys were teasing Greg at school, that's my older brother, Andy wanted to loan him his stormtrooper gun to shoot them. He told Santa Claus his name was Stormtrooper and fantasized he had gone to Darth Vader's planet and kissed and married Princess Leia. Oh, I used to crush hard on Princess Leia. My brothers would catch me, full disclosure. I had all the figures. My brothers would catch me literally under the covers, like humping her Star Wars figure. Like I'd take my shirt off, which is like pretty hilarious that I even understood whatever from the movies enough that I was doing that at 3.5. So my dad kept this stick, and my mom wasn't joking. I have it right here. This thing is almost 40 years old. I took this stick everywhere for, I don't know, like 2 years. This stick is so soft here on the handle from me holding it. It wouldn't leave my side. If you see pictures of me from like 3.5 to 5, I am always holding this stick. And this stick just broke off a tree in our backyard. And I had decided in my head it was a stormtrooper gun because I was obsessed with stormtroopers. So my dad kept this stick. And I'm really grateful he did. And I knew he did. He would always tell me I kept that in my sock drawer. And then when he died, I found it, and it's pretty awesome that he has this. And, I'm really grateful that he kept this because this thing, it meant so much to me. And I forgot about that till I read that I put it in a bucket next to my bed. I mean, guys, this obsession with Star Wars and like this stick, I'll just show you guys a picture. I mean, look at this. These are professional photos that my mom had done in February of 86. So I was born November of 81. So I am 4 years old, little past 4, 3 months past 4. These are professional photos. Look at me. On the left, I'm holding the stick. And then the one on the right in different poses. Like the stick would not leave my side. I'm just holding it everywhere. I mean, my mom couldn't get me to drop the stick, aka my stormtrooper gun, for photos. That's how much I love this damn stick. And like she said in that entry, my dad made a paper mache mask. Look at this. This is pretty cool. My dad was really talented. He was a low-key talented artist. Not in your traditional sense, and you would never think my dad as an artist, but look at this. This is me at Halloween, and guys, it's not like it is now. Star Wars is everywhere. It's Disney-fied. Disney bought it. When I grew up, you couldn't get a stormtrooper costume. That's why my dad had to make a paper mache helmet like he does in this photo. You couldn't get this stuff. Figures were not everywhere. In fact, when I became big into Star Wars, you couldn't get figures. They were like sold out. You couldn't just walk up to a toy store and get Star Wars figures. Obviously, Amazon didn't exist. None of that existed. You couldn't get them. So you had to hand make stuff. And this was the costume that my parents, my dad in particular, decided to put together to make me a stormtrooper. And my dad was so great with this stuff. He was handy and he was so supportive. And I have this gun. This is my Han Solo gun. I still have it and he kept it. My dad made it out of wood. And I remember we painted it black. And he literally designed this off just a picture in a book of Han Solo's gun. And I would take this gun around my house and we had a long hallway. And I always wanted to reenact the scene on the Death Star where Luke and Han are shooting the stormtroopers in the area where they were rescuing Princess Leia from her prison cell or whatever you want to call it. And I'd always reenact that down the hallway. And this was my Han Solo gun, man. And my dad would make this stuff. He'd make the paper mache mask. He'd make the gun, and it's just, I don't know. It's pretty awesome to have this stuff. And I'm so grateful that I had a father that, not just me, but my brothers, he supported everything we did. Whether it was a brother who was into music or another brother into planes, sports, Star Wars, he just supported us. And I've been thinking a lot about him the last like 24 hours, and I'm just grateful. Like, I'm grateful to have this stuff and to have these memories. And Damn. It just hits you sometimes. It just, Walt was a good man. He was. And I think now that I have a girl, a child, I should say, it's like I want to be like that. Or he set the bar high, and that's the goal, to have a dad who just supports you no matter what you do, or have a parent who does that and tries their best. They're gonna mess up, but I'm really grateful. And as I was thinking about this episode, I was looking at this stuff. I was just thinking how lucky I was to have a dad like that and to have a parents like that. And it's not always easy with him not being here, but I have those memories which you can never take from somebody. And man, he was always so cool about the Star Wars stuff. I was a psycho. You guys see this? This gun, this little, it's a stick. It's a stick from a tree. I took it everywhere. And I'm gonna read another entry that my mom had in my baby book. This is for my 4th birthday. So that would have been November 26th, 1985. So I'm gonna not read everybody's names, but some family friends came over for Thanksgiving dinner, and we celebrated Andy's birthday at the same time. He was so into Star Wars that one of my brother Elliot's good friends gave him all his figures. So my brother's friend had all these Star Wars figures, and he was older, and he gave me all of them. We gave Andy the figures in a Darth Vader's collector's case, and he was in all his glory. We had to sing "Happy Birthday, Dear Stormtrooper." He was given the remainder of these Star Wars toys for Christmas. He played with these continually, taking very good care of them. I remember that, guys. I really do. I remember exactly where I was in my parents' house, opening those gifts. And they were basically hand-me-down Star Wars toys, and I was so happy. I was so happy. All the figures, they were in a giant toy holder, which was a Darth Vader mask. It was shaped like the silhouette of Darth Vader. And then I had a C-3PO one, and it was the best thing ever, man. I was so joyous. And my mom's right. I took care of them. I love those things. And when we were going through my parents' house, when you're going through everything after they die, I had all the toys and I had all the figures. And I ended up passing them down to my nephew, my godson, Nolan. And that's awesome for me too, because he loves Star Wars. He's a very smart kid. He wants to learn as much as he can. And that's been a really cool experience for me to pass down my love of not only my love, but the toys that I grew up with, which somebody else passed down to me. It's kind of continuing the tradition. And he has that love and that affection just like I did for Star Wars. And it's really cool to see. And I like reading these things because it's like, wow, it takes me back, and that's where I was. And Star Wars was just different, though. It's some of you guys who are younger might not get it because, again, it's been so Disney-fied. It's just, I'm not the guy who knows every little character of all the new stuff. And the truth is, I haven't seen the latest season of Mandalorian or, the Boba Fett series. I think I watched just the first season of that. So, like, I'm behind. It's like the OG3 I still love. And obviously, I've seen all the movies. I've seen every single Star Wars movie. And that's an entire other discussion, debating those. But like the old 3, man, The original 3, they're tough to touch. I don't know what 3 original movies are gonna touch that. It'd be hard, right? And the truth is going to movies was different back then, man. I never got to see the Star Wars in the theaters because I was too young when all of them came out. But I still have good memories of seeing certain movies in the theaters and having vivid memories of that. I just think that whole experience has changed with Netflix and Amazon and streaming. It's just not the same. And the truth is, it's too damn expensive. It's too damn expensive to see movies. And I have no shame in saying there's a part of me that kind of wants the whole industry to crumble. I know that sounds kind of messed up, but just the fact that they charge so much for tickets, they charge so much for food, for a bucket of popcorn, a soda. Like this is ridiculous. And you can enjoy all that from the friendly confines of your own home, you know? Everything is just different. And I think the Star Wars movies and a lot of other movies are kind of a time capsule, so to speak, because there was something about going to the theater and seeing them. Like, I would have loved to have been able to see Star Wars in the theater. And I'm not talking about the re-release. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about when they first came out. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being in the theater and Darth Vader reveals he's Luke Skywalker's dad? I mean, can you imagine that? Like that's got to be one of the all-time reveals of all movies, of all television. Like, think about that. That's an insane reveal. And you really can't do that nowadays. You can't hold on to something. No social media existed. It was just a different time. And I think it's pretty awesome. I've seen one movie since the pandemic ended. Since 2020. I've seen one movie. One. I saw Top Gun Maverick. Brittany and I saw it. And we liked it. And it was a good experience. And we're glad we went to the theater. I've seen one movie in about 4 years. It's just tough when you can just watch them at home, man. Or you can rent it for $4 on Amazon. I mean, you go to the movie theater, you got to take out a loan. Like, why am I paying this much? And they did this to themselves, right? I guess there's still something to go into the movies. I'm not knocking it because there is. And maybe for me, it's because my memories of probably the last, I don't know how many years, were mostly with my mom. That was kind of our thing. Anytime I come back to Cincinnati, whether it was Christmas or sometime during the summer, we'd always go at least one movie together. A lot of times two. And that was kind of our thing. Mother-son movies. And we'd go, and it was a good thing that we had. And it was just a fun little bonding thing we had. And maybe that's a reason I haven't gone, because, my mom obviously passed away 4 years ago. So I don't know, but I just think everything's different. And I think if you're younger, you just don't care as much. And I don't blame you. And it's the same with sports, I think. I think sports are great live. I love sports. We all know that. But a lot of times, it's just a great experience to view on television, especially football. Especially football. I can't even watch baseball on television at this point. That's the truth. Do I enjoy going to a baseball game? Sure. Do I enjoy going to any sports game? Yeah. But the experience is just so good now from your home that it makes it it makes it difficult to charge these enormous amounts of money, especially when people have to be on a budget, you know? And I think that's what was so cool about Star Wars. And it's pretty awesome, man. I again, I just think it's the best trilogy of all time. And I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. I'd love people to DM me at Andy Ruther, hop in, any conversations. Tell me who you think. I'll put that as a question. You can put questions on Spotify. Is Star Wars, the original 3, the best trilogy of all time? Shout out to everybody who's left a podcast rating or review. Don't forget, if we get a combined 100 ratings/reviews by June 10th, one lucky person is getting $100. I'm going to Venmo you $100. So just leave your social media handle or send a screenshot if you're doing it on Spotify. Somebody's going to get $100. But we got to get to 100. It's 100 for 100. That's how we're doing it. And you guys have left some real funny reviews. Real funny reviews. I appreciate that. It's fun. It's fun to read. It's fun to see like how much I've changed, and you guys talk about that and just my life and all those things. So thank you guys for that. Really appreciate the ratings and the reviews. So keep doing that. We're, I don't know, like a third of the way there. So we got a long way to go. I think last time I saw there was 28 or 29 Apple podcast reviews and like 9 Spotify ratings. So we're like a little more than the third of the way there. So if you are listening, guys, it takes 2 seconds. It takes 2 seconds. Just drop me a rating. Drop me what you think. Let me know what you think. You know, they've all been 5 stars except for 1 3-star. I will find you. No, I'm kidding. I do wonder though. It's like 3? It's like you don't hate me, but you don't love me. You're like, Ruther's a C. I think he's a C. I don't like what he had to say about Karen's. Was that a Karen? No, she would have given me 1 star. Some Karen and Anderson rated me 3 stars. I don't like what he says about him. He's mean. I was just trying to help the boys who were playing football at Kroger. By the way, that segment will be back. You guys seem to enjoy that, and I really enjoyed doing that. That segment will be back. Wonder if I can get Gay Greg on the podcast. Brittany was like, what if Gay Greg hears you talking about him on the podcast? I said, that'll be hilarious. Let's play that conversation out. I see him on the street. He's like, hey, were you talking about me on your podcast? Yeah. Do you think I'm gay? Yeah. Okay, cool. Have a good day. like, where's that conversation go? Where does it go? I think it'd be hilarious if you heard this. I think it'd be hilarious if anybody heard this. I don't really care, guys. I'm gonna talk about my life. You guys know this. I'm pretty open, man. I'm not one to shy away from what I'm doing, what I'm talking about, how I feel, my emotions. That's how I am. That's what this show is gonna be all about. So I'm gonna wrap this bad boy up. You guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. You know where to find me. Don't be a stranger. Hit me up in the DMs. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you in June.